This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Mr. President, going back to the World Health Organization, you were the president during COVID.
A few moments later.
Donald Trump was inaugurated at 12, and just a few minutes ago, he has now claimed that there will only be the male and female gender that will be recognized in America. This sets back everything that the trans community has been working for, and we have already not been recognized in this country for centuries. If we remember, gay marriage became legal 10 years ago. We had just earned the right to change our gender on our passports and IDs. Just because I want to identify as a man does not mean I am trying to hurt you. In these next 4 years, you are going to hear the most intense anti-trans propaganda you have ever heard in your entire life. And they're going to strew it in a way that sounds extremely convincing, because it will fearmonger. It will fearmonger everyone's insecurities. Please talk to your neighbors, protect your trans community, stay involved, and do not forget us, because history will try to erase us.
Hey guys, everything feels really out of control and scary, and I'm really anxious. Elon Musk, did a Nazi salute for some reason. That's so scary. And Donald Trump's the president, and that's so scary. And he basically admitted to voter fraud, but we're all just kind of glossing over that. Also, if you look up, this is random, if you look up right now, in the search bar on TikTok, the Taylor Swift song, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, it's all, for me at least, I'll tell you, it's all, replaced with woman, question mark. What is about to happen? I have, such, impending doom and fear, and, what is about to happen? So, I'm just laughing because I'm scared, I don't, why, I'm not understanding either why Elon Musk is involved. Isn't he not American? What is fucking going on? What is happening?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about the meltdowns that are currently happening in the mainstream liberal media over Trump's executive orders. Now, we talked about Trump's executive orders yesterday when it comes to the border, okay, and him securing the border, getting the mass deportation started. And you had migrants crying at the border, right? They were crying at the border in Mexico, bawling because the jig is up. Unfortunately, you can't come into this country, okay? That's just the reality of the situation. Some people think it's mean. Some people think it's inhumane. Oh, you're a bad person for supporting this. I don't care what you think, right? I don't care about your tears. That's what I want people to understand. I don't care, okay? We can't let everybody into the country. There are other individuals who have cried about not being able to come into the United States. It is what it is, okay? We have to protect our borders, okay? It is what it is. So Trump also sparked some more liberal tears yesterday when he signed an executive order regarding gender and DEI, okay, in which Trump says, you know what, we are moving away from the woke agenda when it comes to gender and DEI. And obviously, the mainstream liberal media and the woke revolutionaries, they're upset about this.
She's been covering President Trump's planned executive orders, including actions rolling back DEI policies. Yamiche, tell us about it.
Well, good afternoon, Lester. I've been talking to a number of legal experts related to the executive orders on DEI, which of course is diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as gender identity. The Trump administration and the President Trump are planning to sign an executive order where they would be saying that there are two biological sexes, male and female, and to that end, they would be rolling back any sort of gender issues or any sort of gender things that are talking about anything that's non-binary or anything that is not specifically male or female. And to that part, I've been talking to a legal expert who say there could be immediate impacts on that executive order, including in prisons, migrant shelters, as well as in spaces like rape shelters. That could mean that people that are transgender could be moved out of those spaces that they say align with their gender identity and instead moved into spaces that deal with their biological sex in the way that the Trump administration is seeing this. So we could see immediate impact on that. We also are hearing that the Trump administration is going to be changing the way that passports and federal documents are going to be used and utilized, and taking away those gender identity terms. In that regard, a legal expert told me that if you're someone who's transgender, who has a passport that maybe has gender X on it, they would caution you not to leave the country because you could literally be detained by border agents because you couldn't have your gender entered into the system if the Trump administration is no longer identifying it. So that means if you're someone who leaves the country, you could literally not be let back in until the State Department issued you a passport that said you were either male or female. So really need to look out for those immediate consequences. I've also been talking to people about these DEI programs, and one expert at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund told me that it's a big question what exact programs are going to be targeted, but they said to me that if it prohibits anything that deals with discrimination on race or gender, while they might see real legal challenges there, those could also be immediately implemented. And they expect, though, to have a lot of lawsuits related to that, but that even with the Trump administration, presidents have the ability to do what they want when it comes to dealing with the federal government's issuance of these programs. So definitely a big fights ahead, and also, though, immediate impacts that we expect, Lester.
So, as we all know, Trump is now President of the United States. And Trump is bringing in laws to only recognize people as their assigned gender at birth. There's a lot of implications about this. So, basic things, right? One, what about people who've transitioned, right? What about trans people? People who transition. You pretty much are outlawing being trans. And what about those trans people who have changed their name and sex legally? What, are you going to reissue them new birth certificates? And, third, right? What about, you have literally created a position where there's going to be men going into women's spaces now, and women going into men's spaces. This is dangerous as fuck. Like, say you are a trans woman going into a men's bathroom. What's gonna happen? It's not safe. You are literally creating laws to harm trans people, Trump.
As a trans person myself, the thoughts of my rights in the future being, threatened is something that's scary. Yeah, I'm not excited for the next 4 years.
How do you feel about Trump being inaugurated for his second term today?
I think in total it is a terrifying thing to happen in the United States. I think it is a bit disgusting that we've allowed a felon into office, and someone who is so hateful towards people of color, towards people who are queer, and just towards women, towards people who deserve to have rights in America.
And what do you think Trump being reelected into office kind of means for the future of LGBTQIA plus rights in America?
I think the biggest issue right now is thinking for minors. People who are 18 years of age have a little bit more freedom because you can go to different states at that point, and I could go up to Minnesota if I really needed to. We've seen a lot of increase in anti-LGBTQ legislation for people who are under 18. They're not able to achieve hormone therapy, that sort of thing. And that's very difficult for mental health.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. People are upset about this, okay, including MSNBC, right, MSDNC. You have Al Sharpton and Joy Reid coping over the fact that companies are moving away from DEI, and basically they're saying, you know what, we're going to boycott these companies, right? We want to boycott companies that are no longer embracing racism. Hilarious.
I saw Dr. King twice as a kid, but I joined the movement when I was 12 in the North. And what made Dr. King a national figure is what we picked up today at Metropolitan AME, a church that had the funeral of Frederick Douglass and where the body of Rosa Parks was brought. Dr. King called an economic boycott, as Martin III just talked about, and hit him in the pocketbook. And what we said today is that these companies that are now saying they're going to back up off of diversity and equity and inclusion should therefore not have a diverse consumer base. You don't want diversity? Then we should not buy your products. And we're going to name which company. We're going to take 90 days, work with other groups, and come up with 2 or 3 companies that we're going to make the example of Dr. King. Is withdraw dollars. Donald Trump can't make us spend money with companies that will not deal and commit and continue with diversity and equity and inclusion. And on Martin Luther King federal holiday, a holiday that Coretta Scott King, Martin III's mother, and Bernice's mother, fought for, Stevie Wonder and others, we all marched for. On that holiday, you're going to pardon people that did violent acts on the day that the personification of nonviolence in American history, that we're celebrating him. His answer to Dr. King is, I'm going to let hoodlums, thugs, who not only did violence, but did it in the Capitol, and pardon them. How do you pardon them without saying you're pardoning Dr. King's meaning?
We're going to talk more about the J6 meltdowns, right? There has to be a whole video for that. But when it comes to the gender stuff, right, and DEI, I mean, who thought it would be controversial in 2025 to say, hey, you know, there are 2 genders, right? We're going to organize society based off biological sex, okay, which we've been doing for thousands of years, okay? It's worked out pretty well, at least up until recently. He's not banning people from being trans. If you want to be trans, you can be trans. But when it comes to public life, when you're doing things in public, okay, you just have to go along with your biological sex. It is what it is, okay? It is what it is. I don't understand why this is so controversial, right? I don't understand why having the government not racially discriminate is controversial, right? I don't get it. I really don't. I don't. But, you know, hey, what Trump is doing is that he is returning common sense and normalcy to this country. And the people who don't like that, they're upset. Okay, now we're going to see if the Democrats push back, if they're going to boo-hoo, whine, and cry about this. Some of them will. But, you know, if they push back against stuff like this, it's just not going to be a good look for them, right? It's going to be proof that their party is woke, that their party is controlled by the far left. I would suggest that they just keep it moving, right? Just don't address this, right? Don't double down on DEI, okay? Don't double down on the gender stuff. Just keep it moving, okay? Democrats would be smart not to push back against this, but who knows? We'll see. Of course, there are a lot of woke revolutionaries in that party who will be boo-hoo, whining, and crying about it. But, you know, hey, you know, Trump is showing on day one that America's back. America's back. And we are going in the opposite direction that we were going for the last 4 years. And I think that is clear. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.